Good evening, folks. Glad you're with us for WVLT News. I'm Ted Hall. This tornado leveling neighborhoods, mostly in Middle Tennessee. Now people are just starting to get their bearings. Many finding out friends and family didn't survive the night. Putnam County, the hardest hit, the deadliest storm on record for them. At least 19 are dead. As we mentioned, some buildings still haven't been searched. A church has had to serve as a morgue for now.
You can see this home, an elderly couple lived up here. See that blue wall? They were behind that blue wall in their bedroom. They survived this tornado. Kind of amazing to see that. One of the only surviving structures here, one of the last standing walls, and they were behind that.
This is Carlin Smith's home, and you have to wonder, how does somebody survive something like this? Well, the short answer to that is, Carlin, you weren't here last night. Carlin said he had a bad feeling, and you went to a different home. You walk back this morning and you see what daylight brings, and you say to yourself, what?
I didn't know what to say. I just was numb. I just thought of everything, lost everything. So.
You see such resolve in the face of hardship, and nothing really shows that resolve until you see a sign out here that we really wanted to make sure we showed you guys. They painted this just today. It says, "We are strong," on the outside of their wall.
This is Ryan Meyer's home. The second that he found out that his family was safe, do you know what he did? He ran right across the street to help his neighbor who was in need, a woman trapped under this home as it was collapsing.
The house collapsed in on her. It tried to suck him into the basement at the same time, and it collapsed on top of her.
You had to walk away from this family, trying your hardest, but not being successful. How did you feel in those moments?
I know these people well. It's horrible. Her daddy was one of my good friends. I worked for her for 11 years. And how do you walk away from somebody who's trying to save your life?
A few minutes after Ryan and I talked, I looked over at the home where the woman died, and I saw a family member there. And I went over and spoke with her, and she said it was her cousin who had passed away. And we promised that we weren't going to share the name. She wasn't sure if every family member knew the news yet. But she said that the victim had at least a few moments to communicate with family before she passed away.
To either get a text message or a phone call out to her mother, stating it's not looking good, I love you, and just giving her final peace out.
I can tell you I've covered a lot of tornadoes in my time. This one's not rated yet, but the team from Nashville is out here. This is worse than a lot of the EF3s I've seen, closer to on par with an EF4 when you see some of the structural damage to the foundation and the way the bolts are purely ripped out.
We're in a neighborhood on Hensley Drive. In this neighborhood, driveways, they lead to homes that no longer exist.
And tonight, when you look at some of the sidewalks, you see this, X's, marking the areas that search and rescue crews have gone through. That search and rescue going to continue well into the night and tomorrow.
I found the Holy Bible here that everything beside it was destroyed, but there's not a page gone in this Bible.
It's fully intact, you say?
It's a family Bible, and we'd like to find out whose family Bible it was.
And as crews continue to search tonight, an officer just walked by again with another armful of Bibles, and this one has a name in it, presented to Mary Evelyn Randolph in 1946. And they said, here, please take these mementos that we're finding, family Bibles. You guys have a better shot of getting them back with their rightful owners than we do.
You were one of the first people on scene yesterday morning. Tell me a little bit about what that was like as the sun came up.
We were basically watching these people come out of their homes for the first time since sunrise and seeing it firsthand with them. A lot of despair, a lot of sorrow, loss, confusion, tears and hugs.
You've seen some really bad stuff, and you've seen the way that people react to these tragedies. Is there anything unique or special in the way that Tennesseans have reacted to this tornado?
There was a resilience that seemed to bond them together.
As so many search for little family treasures.
3 and 4 inches under dirt and finding stuff.
Cheryl Minat is hunting for something that could bring hope.
It wasn't anything special other than to her, and we would love to have it for her whenever she regains consciousness.
Cheryl is looking for her granddaughter's Lovey.
It's just hard to believe it would be here, but it, you know.
Her granddaughter, Harper, just turned 2 years old.
She's precious. She's just as cute as she can be. Sweet.
Harper is in a medically induced coma at East Tennessee Children's. She underwent surgery after suffering a head injury during the tornado.
We're very, very concerned about her.
Waking up from a coma with Lovey would bring a little peace to a family that lost it all.
I wanted to be here, but it's been a great experience. Really, all of you. Seriously.
This is probably one of my favorite stories of the year so far. Some absolutely incredible news from East Tennessee Children's Hospital this afternoon. Harper Minot, a 2-year-old tornado victim from Cookeville, released from the hospital today after more than a month. She was hurt in the Super Tuesday tornado that hit Putnam County. Here she is, finally getting to leave. We're following breaking news out of Roane County tonight. A Roane County couple admit to burying their young daughter.
Pages after pages, all detailing unimaginable circumstances. We have new details now about a car.
Evelyn's mom is right now inside that building.
Literally just hours ago learning that she has been charged by the sheriff's office.
The Knoxville Fire Department says that a helicopter went down just a little bit ago here in Knoxville. Take a look at the scene here.
A major development in a story that WVLT News broke this evening. One person is now confirmed dead. 3 others have been rescued after a helicopter crash in the Tennessee River in the Sequoia Hills neighborhood. The crash happened around 7:45 tonight. The search for that missing passenger is now over. Now, 3 managed to escape the crash and were picked up by a pontoon boat as they were swimming to shore.
In front of our house on the Cherokee, in front of Cherokee Farms in the river, a helicopter just crashed. There's a few people taking boats out there, neighbors, but there's 3 people in the river, and they're yelling that one person is trapped inside the helicopter.
Justin, witnesses tell you that the helicopter that crashed was often seen in the area, did not belong to military, law enforcement, or UT Medical.
Yeah, Amanda, neighbors here in this area did say that it was a familiar aircraft in this area, the one that they had seen frequently times before. And I talked to a neighbor this afternoon, or this evening, who said he saw it all happen. He said that the aircraft was just right above the water line there, and he thought that it was going to land on the water, but then it just seemed to crash into the water and break into thousands and thousands of tiny little pieces. He says that's when he saw the people exit that helicopter there, and then he said that they started swimming to shore before they were picked up.
The co-founder of Clayton Homes and Clayton Automotive, Joe Clayton, has died in a helicopter crash. Jim Clayton in a statement said about the accident and his brother, "I'm devastated and completely heartbroken by the loss of my wonderful brother, Joe." Here's a picture of Joe. He's on the left. His brother, Jim, on the right. Together, the brothers founded Clayton Homes in 1956, at one time the largest seller of manufactured homes in the whole country. They started several other businesses. Clayton Homes sold to Warren Buffett in 2002, but the entire Clayton family is now known over the last 2 decades for their philanthropy, for helping around East Tennessee.
You can see Jim Clayton's home is just over my shoulder here on the other side of the river. His neighbors tell me that he was a frequent flyer of that helicopter, which is still in the Tennessee River right now. Crews are hoping to take it out at least in the next couple of days, because this is a main channel that helicopter is still stuck in. Lots of boat traffic out here. Robert Crawford, one of the neighbors in the Sequoia Hills neighborhood, says he's actually a pilot and works on crash recovery. He says he's never seen a crash like this one. This is one of the worst he's seen since he was in the service.
A helicopter very low over the water, and I realized he was too low to clear the fence where he was landing, and then he seemed to hesitate, went into the water, and with a second the whole helicopter disappeared, and I saw the blades fly to about 1,000 pieces.
Federal investigators say the pilot was trying to land near the family's home on the river's edge. The pilot says he couldn't stop the descent. Passenger says the chopper hit the water and started sinking to the left. We know that the state of Tennessee trusted Michael and Shirley Gray with 5 adoptive children. We know that 2 of those children are now dead, and we know that 1 of those children was found buried in the backyard of this home in Halls. You can see hay covering fresh earth where deputies were digging over the weekend and eventually found that body. We want to take a step back and reintroduce you to the main players in this case. Shirley and Michael Gray, those are the eldest adults in this situation. They had 5 adoptive children living with them between the ages of 10 and 15. They lived in this home in Halls in the basement with those children. On the upper level, their adult son, Michael Anthony Gray Jr., and his boyfriend lived together. Now, a surviving son claims that kids were locked in a cage and starved and confined for periods of time in the basement of this home in Halls. We do know that deputies took a large dog cage, as you mentioned, Ted, with a reverse lock and a peephole out of the home while conducting a search warrant. We want to get back to that warrant that WVLT News was first to tell you about and bring you today. We broke this story. It shows that the adults that were living in this home knew about the abuse happening in the basement. Demonstrations continue across East Tennessee tonight. Gwendolyn Dupree, she's live at World's Fair Park.
Starting to walk downtown. They started at the convention center.
There are so many influential black voices out there who have done this work.
I've never seen Market Square packed quite like this. People feel like this is just their way of making a difference. You hear chanting, "No justice, no peace." It's kind of a wave going here. I'll let you just listen in for 1 second, Amanda.
Don't shoot! Hands up!
Don't shoot!
Gwen, I don't know if you can hear me. It's pretty loud out there, but is Knoxville police aware of this this protest, and do they have security set up around the area?
Good question, Amanda. Yes, they are aware of what is going on. And from last week, you know, they were asked not to engage, to not heighten any tension, and that appears to be the same story again this week. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions? What brings you out here today?
It's really great to see my community organizing around an issue that I find really important.
And can you read out your sign for me?
Yes, what they deserved was to thrive in life. What we owe them now is justice.
Johnny Majors spent his final hours doing what he loved most, looking out over the Tennessee River. The legendary player and coach died this morning. He had just turned 85. He was a 2-time Player of the Year and coached at UT for 15 seasons. And of course, Big Orange will never forget his many big wins, including the one over Bear Bryant and Alabama. In fact, the night of that win in 1982, he went to his old stomping grounds, Ye Old Steakhouse, and he celebrated until, what, 3 in the morning, Ted?
They're saying 2 or 3 in the morning, and there was a flower fight and all kinds of fun and excitement. This place, the Ye Old Steakhouse, was packed. We're going to talk to the owner about some of those exciting memories that he had of Johnny Majors coming in here and meeting people, not hiding in the corner, sitting up front where people could sit and come up and talk to him. That's just the kind of guy he was. We got a chance to talk to him just a few months ago about what that win meant.
There's no way you can recapture it like it was. It just is impossible. It's been so long ago.
I stepped up and asked the question, well, Coach, are you fearful of these guys? What's it going to take? Are you afraid of these guys? And Majors lashed back and said, no, we're football players. We're men. We never get afraid. Attack, attack, attack. And that's the last time, Ted, I asked a question like that for sure.
Deadly weather strikes East Tennessee, and the danger's not over.
A school teacher dies when a tree crashes on her van. A man dies hydroplaning on a busy highway.
Flooding sweeps away a mobile home, covers the roads, and opens destructive potholes.
TVA working to hold the water back, but flash flooding could get worse while we sleep.
The WVLT News drone, you can see about 16 feet wide, about 16 feet deep. Neighbors around here saying it does get pretty dark in this area at night, so Thankfully, nobody got hurt. Nobody drove over this into that trench. Now, of course, all of this coming after those strong storms. You know, I always say, turn around, don't drown. This is an example why. Take a look at these pictures that a neighbor sent us. This is a KUB truck that actually got stuck in the trench before it became a complete washout. Thankfully, the driver is okay. They were able to get a crane to pull that truck out. But just a reminder, if you question the integrity of the road, chances are it might not be safe.
3 people have filed complaints with the FAA after a low-flying plane appeared in Seymour. Take a look.
One in.
Yeah, I might be saying what in the world too if I was standing there and that happened in my neighborhood. An East Tennessee aviation expert watched this video and calls it totally reckless. He says pilots are supposed to stay 500 feet above where they're flying, even higher than that in congested areas. Neighbors, of course, were shocked when this appeared Thursday evening. Our expert says it's likely an old Cessna, perhaps a home-built aircraft, the one that you can get a kit for and do at home. A police chase so intense, our eye in the sky, Pete Michael says he has never had to fly his plane so fast to keep up. He estimates that white SUV was driving about 120 miles per hour as it led what he believes was a state police trooper through Knox County and eventually to Morristown. In Pete's video, you can see the car swerving in and out of traffic at one point, even blowing down the shoulder, passing other drivers.
At one point, they were running over 120 miles an hour, and that is not an exaggeration. That's the fastest I've ever had to fly, ever. In 44 years, I've never had to fly that fast to keep up with the chase.
Tennessee is in trouble, named the worst place in the country when it comes to the number of new COVID infections per capita. That's according to a virus tracking site called COVID Act Now. Despite the crisis, Tennessee Governor Bill Lee says he has no intention of imposing a statewide mask mandate.
The Knox County Board of Health voting just last night that all bars across the county have to close August 3rd.
This foundation is once again under attack.
A video created by Mayor Glenn Jacobs and leaked online.
Unelected bureaucrats who cast down edicts which carry the force of law with no accountability and no recourse.
Triggers anger, fear, and fireworks on Knox County's Board of Health.
I felt threatened by what I saw.
My grown children here in Knoxville begged me to start using an alarm system.
I've personally been encouraged by a number of people to resign from the board.
I apologize if that was divisive. I can't apologize for my sentiments because that's how I feel.
County schools are moving all classes to online learning only. That starts on Monday. This comes as cases and student isolations have been rising within the school system.
Welcome to WVLT's Town Hall meeting. I'm Amanda Hara, joined by Dr. Martha Buchanan, the Knox County Health Director, and Superintendent of Schools, Knox County Schools, Bob Thomas. Parents, if you are watching this, we are streaming this in 2 different places. If you are on the Facebook page and watching that way, we encourage you to ask your questions in the comment section so that we can try and get them answered for you. Now that the vaccine supply has reached our area, should students be required to get that vaccine? Governor Bill Lee says public school students won't be required to, that parents will be able to choose whether they do that or not before sending their kids back to school. What is the health department's stance on this?
There will be no requirement that anyone get vaccinated for COVID.
Superintendent Thomas, we know that learning loss has been significant this year. That's not a secret. It's not specific to Knox County. We're seeing it statewide. Where are students struggling the most? Which subjects do we see the deepest drop? And how does the district plan to get students back on track in the wake of that?
We did see at the 9-week mark about twice as many Fs.
So summer school could be an option for Knox County that people would opt into?
Well, we're still talking, having those conversations.
On the count of 3.
3, 2, 1.
5 frontline workers got the COVID vaccine at the same time at UT Medical Center.
Today was relief and joy.
Honored and excited.
It's a moment they say is so satisfying considering what they've endured.
I have loved and lost several patients in the past 9 months.
It's emotionally, physically draining.
So when the vaccine made its way to UT Medical Center, there was a round of applause.
And of course, we've got a snowy winter's night here in East Tennessee right on Christmas Eve. So hopefully you don't have any more shopping or anything to do. Time is obviously running down, and now you're going to be having to deal with the snow, which is accumulating.
This is what so many in East Tennessee woke up to this morning. Snow on the ground, but power lines too, shutting off heat for thousands as we drop to dangerously cold temperatures.
Crews, some even without electricity in their own homes, are working to get people like Debbie Helton their power back.
See, that's 36, about 42 hours.
Helton lost her service Christmas Eve night. Wind and snow blew onto her porch, and while they sit without it into day 2, she knows they could have it worse.
Just stubborn that way. You're so dirty. Okay.
A barn might be the last place you'd find yourself saying this.
Cleaning the stalls, that's like the best feeling there is.
But something about the way it smells,
it's amazing.
And everything about what's inside are exactly what Jessica Thoma lives for as long as she can remember.
Good girl. Sugar, I'm never nervous to get on.
The best seat in the house,
come on down,
has always been on a horse.
Oh, the feeling of just being on the horse is like, this is where I'm supposed to be. She's so excited right now.
Good girl, Sugar.
Well, really my mom is to blame.
Bender.
Come on. She got me addicted to horses way before I ever rode one.
Yeah.
But every good rider will tell you you're bound to fall off. And when life threw Jessica from the saddle,
she lost both of her legs below the knee and her left arm below the elbow.
She wasn't quite sure how she'd get back on.
I was on the brink of death. I almost died.
Like a runaway horse. A mysterious sickness took off inside Jessica's body.
This is my bad hand.
By the time doctors caught up to the rare autoimmune disease, it was too late.
My whole left hand was dead. It was dying, and my legs were dying.
This is what vasculitis does, is it takes away the blood flow from your extremities.
And they were telling me that, I was going to become a triple amputee. The first thing I wanted to do after the amputations, after my surgery, was take a picture and post it on Facebook. It was a big moment to post that picture because that was who I was going to be for the rest of my life. There's some days where I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to go to work because I just didn't want this to happen. And I didn't have a choice. I know I've got some tears in my eyes right now, but that's normal.
But because Jessica has horses that need to be fed and cleaned and exercised, she chooses to get out of bed. And because it costs money to care for the animals, she chooses to go to work.
They definitely give me purpose. Like, they're the reason I get up in the morning. I gotta feed them. Gotta make sure they have water, make sure they have hay. And I work for them, specifically, to take care of them.
Horses are the lifeline that pulled Jessica from her bed to the barn, and from depression to determination.
How are you feeling right now, getting ready to go in the ring for the very first time since you've been out of the hospital?
A mixture of extremely excited and pretty nervous.
It was 5 months after your amputation? Mm-hmm. You were in a horse show?
Mm-hmm.
Competing?
Yeah. Against able-bodied people. It was insane.
Just 5 months after losing most of her limbs,
I only screwed up once.
Jessica competed in a horse show in Newmarket and won.
I wish I could do it again. Like, I was on cloud 9 that whole day, just being there in that environment.
When do you think you'll take on the next show?
Late September.
Take it one step at a time, right?
Is that a joke?
No.
Have you jumped at all since the amputations?
This big. Tiny.
But still, what was that like?
Oh, it was so fun. So you really gotta sit deep and hold on.
Whoa! Sitting on top of a horse puts Jessica on top of the world.
Horses before were kind of a commodity. I had them, I loved them, but I didn't need them. Now they're a necessity. I have to have them.
And she's not just riding for herself, she's riding for everyone who needs a reason to gallop full speed ahead.
My biggest goal is, to reach out to people that maybe think they can't. And I can show them that they definitely can. Always get back in the saddle. No matter how hard life gets you down, you get back on that horse and you ride.
Good girl. That was nice.
Hey all you cool cats and kittens. This is sports reporter Zach Rickens. I've had a lot of friends, a lot of family ask me, what are you doing now that sports have been pretty much canceled for the most part? I obviously have a little bit more spare time. Like a lot of you, I think I sat on the couch for 8 hours straight and watched Tiger King.
I am not cutting my hair. I'm not changing the way I dress. I refuse to wear a suit.
And then a couple days ago, scrolling through Instagram, saw a post by the Inskip Grill. And this thing was so ridiculous looking, I had to convince my news director that we have to go try out this Joe Exotic burger. We're gonna find out what this thing's all about. I think this thing weighs 15 pounds. Take a feel of that. Time to tackle this thing. I don't know if I'm gonna need these. I'm gonna unhinge my jaw.
You can go all in or piece by piece.
I'm gonna trust Justin on this one.
I would go all in though. It's all the flavors meshed together. It's really good.
So here we go. Oklahoma toast.
It's got a tiger patty.
Pineapple on top.
Tiger tenders.
This is just patently ridiculous.
Tiger pimento cheese.
How do I even pick it up? I haven't had breakfast yet. I don't know what kind of mad scientist you are, Justin. You made it work. As if I weren't already washing my hands enough lately.
It was the worst day. It took us losing sight of him momentarily to lose him forever.
I was planning our 2-year-old birthday party. I ended up planning a funeral.
All it takes is a little bit of water and a face, and drowning can happen.
It's my job now to tell moms, to tell families, this could be you.
What we are currently doing isn't working.
We maybe weren't doing everything that we could do to help prevent drowning for kids.
Swim lessons, the ability to save yourself in water, it's the layer we would have brought with us.
And it's what gave us her back.
Maybe someone will listen. Maybe their outcome will change.
Hello and thanks for joining us for a WVLT News special presentation, Crisis in the Water. I'm Brittany Tarwater. The #1 cause of death for children ages 1 to 4 is drowning.
Levi, he was our 3rd child, and we really thought he was going to be our last one. We thought we always wanted 3 kids. And he was such a boy. They say, "Rah!"
3-year-old Levi Hughes drowned 2 years ago on a summer vacation with his East Tennessee family. Now his parents, Nicole and Jonathan, are creating nationwide change to save the lives of other children.
Yay, I get another piece!
The wins in life are so sweet.
It will be so sweet.
But the losses.
How would it be? How would it be different? And I wish it was. Levi, so he was our third child, and we really thought he was going to be our last one. We thought we always wanted 3 kids. And he was such a boy. I mean, he was, he was so silly.
3-year-old Levi Hughes looked forward to their family's favorite week of the year, an annual beach trip with 5 other families to Alabama.
Levi has been as a 2-month-old, a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, and then he spent his final days as a 3-year-old on these beaches with these friends.
It was the night of their yearly crab hunt, the night the kids waited for all year long.
And my husband, picked him up and shook him and upside down like he would always do to him, and he said, "How many crabs are we going to catch tonight?" And Levi giggled. He said, "So many, Dad." And I gave Levi like a bowl of Cheetos, and I split this brownie. I put half of the brownie in his bowl and kind of ruffled his hair and turned to just like throw the bowl away.
In seconds, Levi was gone.
And he was in the pool. And every time, and it's been 2 years, it's still a shock. And I always think that maybe the story will end differently, but it doesn't.
That same day, on the other side of the country, Olympic skier Bodie Miller and his wife Morgan's 1.5-year-old daughter Emmeline drowned in their California neighbor's pool. In seconds, she was gone. The same pain that ripped their hearts apart is also bringing these 2 families together. The Hughes and the Millers started working together to bring drowning to the front of the national conversation. They teamed up with the American Academy of Pediatrics, creating new public service announcements focused on the importance of water safety.
I ran outside and saw Emmy in the pool. We couldn't save her. As a mom, I want other parents to know how fast drowning can happen.
We believe it should be the #1 thing parents talk about when it comes to safety.
Making sure parents know, aside from birth defects, drowning is the #1 cause of death for children ages 1 to 4.
Happy birthday to you.
My son Levi was so proud to turn 3, but he will never get the chance to turn 4. I'm Nicole Hughes, Levi's mom.
They worked with Dr. Ben Hoffman with the AAP, who calls drowning a public health crisis.
Anything that takes the life of more 1 to 4-year-olds than anything else is a public health crisis, especially when they're all preventable.
Together, the Hughes, the Millers, and the AAP rewrote national safe swimming policies that hadn't been updated in 10 years.
We maybe weren't doing everything that we could do to help prevent drowning for kids. We were able to use their voice to both elevate the problem within the AAP to be able to get a policy statement done in 6 months, which is that had never been done before.
Ready, let's try it.
The new policy suggests children as young as 1 start swim lessons, the youngest the AAP has ever recommended. Research shows children who take consistent swim lessons are 88% less likely to drown.
With Levi, my husband and I purposely decided just 6 weeks before he drowned that we were going to wait until he was ready for swim lessons. So the missing layer for him was his ability to survive in water. It's the layer we would have brought with us.
Hughes says her pediatrician never talked to her about drowning dangers and never asked if any of her children knew how to swim. The new policy now recommends that conversation happen during checkups. A conversation Sophia Brise wishes her daughter Soraya's pediatrician would have had with her.
I was one of the parents that always thought it couldn't happen to me.
It was a Sunday afternoon at a relative's house for dinner.
I hear the loudest gut-wrenching scream that no one should have to hear.
Soraya was 2 weeks away from her 2nd birthday.
When it happened, I was planning her 2-year-old birthday party. So I ended up planning a funeral. Would you rather have a funeral for a child or pay for someone?
She says no one ever told her her daughter was more likely to die from drowning than anything else.
I wish it was a conversation. The one thing I always remember is the seat. You would always say to me, remember, don't face her around yet. And I'm like, okay, I won't. So I wish water safety is part of that.
Pediatricians talking to parents about water safety and suggesting swim lessons begin at 1 year old is now part of the national guidelines. It's not required, but it is recommended doctors adopt the policy. Just a year after losing Levi, the Hughes welcomed baby Willow into their family. When she turned 8 months old, she started swim lessons, learning to roll onto her back, to float, and breathe.
It was just so empowering. It was awesome. I mean, of course, it was just the gut punch over and over that if she was this capable at 8 months, you know, what could my son have done at age 3? And just wishing I had known that for him and hating that he had to be the sacrifice.
Within weeks of Levi's death, his parents started Levi's legacy, encouraging families to appoint a water guardian, even when children are not swimming but have access to water. Dr. Ben Hoffman calls drowning a public health crisis, taking the lives of 800 children every year. That's 13 per week. A standard school bus holds 72 kids. Over the course of a year, that's 9 school buses worth of children who die from drowning.
If we were losing 9 school buses of kids to school buses, there would be some fundamental change in school buses.
Drowning is already the leading killer of our children, and this year could be even worse. The pandemic brings with it extra threats that parents should prepare for.
You don't get a grand reaction like this unless there's a bigger story, so let's back up. For years, one by one, drivers pass by 17-year-old Jake, honking if they're happy. Woo! At glance, you see a chipper teen, but what you don't see is his tough reality.
Jacob was diagnosed at the age of 2 with cerebral palsy.
Traveling in a vehicle is a painful ordeal for Jake and his ex-military dad, Tim. The heavy lifting to get Jake in and out of their dated van causes Tim to lose function in his hands.
I'm just worried about dropping him.
The community quickly started raising money for a wheelchair-accessible van. We met the family when Morristown actor Michael Abbott Jr. surprised them with a test run and a promise.
We would raise this money by Thanksgiving.
A week later, Jake is back watching a parade of vehicles pass by until one pulls into the driveway.
It was awesome.
Oh, and it's courtesy of singer and Tennessee native Justin Timberlake.
I thought, oh my God.
You inspire me, Jake. This is the honk if you're happy, thing, man. We gotta keep that going.
The star says he saw their story on a news clip and it moved him into buying the van just in time for Thanksgiving.
I still want to pinch myself and think that we're in a dream.
I praise God for it.
Praise God for it, huh? Very lucky, aren't we?
No more heavy lifting. No more worries on the road.
You guys gotta use this van. You can honk all over town now.
Yes, sir.
And they'll be happy doing it. Gwendolyn Ducree, WVLT News.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my living room. Hey, stop spying on me.
Stop spying on you. What are you doing?
It's a video.
Hey, did you make our lunch?
That was my husband.
You mean your meatloaf?
No.
So I went on the internet and I found a long list of do's and don'ts while you're in quarantine. So it says here that one of the do's is to clean. All clean. Tackle a home improvement project. Call your grandparents in Norway. That's on the do list. I made that up. Learn a foreign language. My husband and my child are communicating in a secret language. I'm pretty sure they're conspiring against me.
You are conspiring, aren't you?
You betcha we are.
Working out is a do.
It's beautiful in East Tennessee. Get outdoors, enjoy the scenery. What's on the don't list?
Can you say cutting bangs?
Bangs, don't cut them yourself. It's not going to be cute.
No.
This is Exhibit A. My friend Justin, he knows I'm showing you the picture, but he cut his own bangs, and that's what happened. Also on the don't list, it says don't call your ex. Hey, Brad Pitt. What do you mean, how did I get this number?
Do you like chocolate?
Don't eat all of the Easter egg candy.
He's gonna throw up.
Just a bite.
No, Odin. He's never had that much candy before. Take it away from him. Do you have a lot of energy from eating all the chocolate? Why does he have an ex? There's no more eggs. It's over.
This is WVLT News at 6.
Strong storms, heavy rain sweeping some homes right off their foundation today.
And a van crashes during dangerous weather, killing a Sevier County teacher.
I'm telling you, it was devastating.
This woman says she's humiliated after spending the night on the side of the road, trapped because she couldn't afford a tow truck.
Deadly weather sparks all sorts of trouble across the region, and we are not out of the woods yet. Thanks for joining us for WVLT News at 6. I'm Amanda Hara.
I'm Ted Hall. Glad you're with us here. In Knox County alone, rural Metro having to rescue more than 20 vehicles out of high water today. That's not stopping drivers from taking big risks. That's the ramp from Emory Road to I-75 South in Powell. TDOT saying, don't try this. Rescue crews say it gets darker. It'll be harder to see the standing water. They say you need to be extra careful. And if you can, stay off the roads.
And take a look at this video. Absolutely surreal. That is a mobile home floating down a river in Harlan County, Kentucky. Floodwater swept it off its foundation. The good news here, this was being used for storage and nobody was inside.
That's the Little River in Townsend. The water rushing, covering cars even in some spots. The roads had to be closed for a while.
And we have team coverage on this breaking news for you tonight. Our crews are stationed all across East Tennessee.
First, what we want to do is see how much worse this flooding could get. Meteorologist Austin Bowling and Ben Cathy are standing by. Austin, we'll start with you. Some of these showers are, for the most part, the heavy stuff is over, but now we may have some snow to deal with.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we throw in another wrench here. We could see a couple of minor slick spots, albeit shouldn't be too big of a concern. But right now, some good news here in the meantime is that a lot of the heavier downpours have pretty much moved on. Right now, some light rain showers in and around the Knoxville area, all the way down through Madisonville. Again, this is nothing terribly heavy, but again, just any more rainfall. We really don't need to see any more, but we will continue to see more moisture streaming back in later on tonight. Let's pick up Futurecast here at around 9 o'clock. You can see more of those light spotty showers for parts of the valley up in the foothills and the Smokies. We'll continue to see this starting to fill in a little bit more, and with the cold air spilling into parts of the plateau after midnight, that's when we start to see it transition over to either some light sleet, light mix, light snow, and eventually that will continue to change over for areas around Campbell County, Claiborne County, all the way through the early morning hours. And that's when we also start to see it transition into the higher elevations of the Smokies. The lower elevations, still more light rainfall and maybe a wet snowflake mixed in. By the time the school systems that are still in effect for Friday go back to school, we could still see a couple of light snow showers at the lower elevations. But because of that threat, we do have a winter weather advisory and a WVLT weather alert for the morning commute for that threat of some light snowfall up into the higher elevations. That includes Cumberland and Fentress County, most of southeast Kentucky, and the higher elevations of the Smokies above 3,500 feet, where we could pick up about an inch or two up along the plateau, and 2 to 4 inches possible up into the higher elevations of the Smokies. We'll time that out coming up for the weekend here in just a few more minutes. But we want to put some perspective on some of this rainfall we picked up here over the last couple of days, and meteorologist Ben Cathy giving us a little bit of a historic look back. Ben.
Yeah, absolutely, Austin. A humongous amount of rain, not only this year, but the past 2 days alone, more than 5 inches at McGee-Tyson Airport and across East Tennessee and southeastern Kentucky, right along the border. Scott County, scenes like this playing out today. This is from our weather vault, Nikki Walker, near the courthouse. Normally, just a little stream. Today, a absolute waterfall. The past 2 years, TVA's wettest years ever. We have 12.91 inches of rain so far this year, and the rivers are still rising. So how does this compare to last February 23rd's rainfall and flood event, which was a 100-year flood? Well, the past 2 days at Knoxville's airport, 5.13 inches. In the background, fresh drone video from the Powell area, not too far from Beaver Creek. Back then, that Saturday, February 23rd, 5.08 inches. The difference, most of that was in one morning. We'll send it back to Ted and Amanda.
All right, Ben, thank you.
Now, speaking of TVA, engineers are working around the clock to manage high water, which in some spots is feet above normal. If you live or work on the water, watch for rapidly rising water levels.
In Wares Valley, a teacher has died and others are hurt after a tree fell on a van, tearing its roof off today.
Happened along Wares Valley Road around noon. Brooke Sampson taught 4th grade at Sevierville Intermediate School, according to the school's website. She had a doctorate degree and went to ETSU. She was also a part-time city employee. That's why she was in the van. Her husband was in the van as well, but survived. Abby Casares is live for us tonight. Abby, this has really got to be tough for everyone involved.
Yes, a difficult day in Sevier County. We aren't far away from the accident site where we are right here. The city of Sevier says that 6 city employees were in that van. They were attending a meeting in Townsend. Now, we were headed back they were headed back from that meeting when a tree fell on their van. The heavy rain softened the ground and brought the tree down, ripping off the roof off of that van. The accident claiming the life of 36-year-old Brooke Sampson, a teacher in Sevier County. Her husband worked for the city. He was also on the bus. So far, the city has released the names of the other employees, but not their condition. People have been expressing all over social media their sympathies and their prayers for the families of those employees who were in that van, especially for Brooke's husband. Now, I talked to one man who says that Brooke's loss will leave a hole in the heart of that school where she worked. Live in Blount County, Abby Casares, WVLT News.
All right, Abby, thanks.
Let's get a look at traffic now. Dealing with our main roads, no big deal. But folks, we have up to 70 roads that are closed because of high water just in our viewing area alone. We're going to show you a couple of the main ones. All those little yellow markers you see there, those are roads that are closed because of high water. Concerns about the Emory River being 28 feet higher than it was yesterday. Yes, 28 feet higher than yesterday. And you can see Highway 27 just heading northwest of Winslow is shut down both directions because of high water. Not a big problem in downtown unless you consider some of those smaller roads, the side streets that are closed because of high water. We have a lot of those. Problem on the interstate headed eastbound on I-40. As you get to exit 407, the most popular exit on that part of East Tennessee, you're going to hit traffic backing up for almost 8 miles because of road work being done on Interstate 40 eastbound at mile marker 414.
A pothole stranding drivers on I-640. An elderly woman spent the night inside of her car. She hit a series of potholes last night, says she couldn't afford a tow truck. Ariel Starks shows us what's next for Henrietta French.
I'm just going to be quiet. I urinated on myself. I'm on medication for a lot of things, and I'm stuck right here, stinking in my car.
Henrietta French says she's humiliated after potholes caused flat tires, forcing her to spend the night in the car.
I'm telling you, it was devastating. I was driving down the road and it was pouring down rain, cats and dogs, you might say. I hit a big, huge pothole, probably more than one, it sounded like, and immediately I knew it blew my tires out.
Henrietta says a line of cars were pulled over as well, all with flat tires. She was the only one who couldn't afford a tow truck and spent the night on the side of the road.
I don't have any way of paying for a record. My funds are depleted right now.
WVLT News helped French call relatives for assistance. Ariel Starks, WVLT News.
Now, we did go back out to the scene to check on Henrietta, make sure she was okay. By that time, her car and her were both gone. So we're hoping that everything was resolved for her.
All right, if you did hit a pothole and you want to file a claim, head to the WVLT News app and you can find out more about how.
Well, take a look at this. A football field at Lake City Middle School in Rocky Top completely covered in water.
Look at Powell. Nothing new here. The fields, baseball, softball fields flooded once again. We say again because just last year, around this same time, late February last year, those fields flooded, leaving a lot of damage.
Yeah, since then, crews have really been trying to get this field ready for play, but this could delay the softball team season yet again.
Yeah, baseball team as well. Robert Grant live out there at those fields. Robert, you spoke to the softball coach. What's he feeling like after they spent a bunch of money and a lot of time getting these fixed because of last year's flood?
Ted, I think you're feeling frustration. You know, heartbreak is what happened last year, but this time it's happening again. Now they're frustrated. I want you guys to take a look around here. The baseball and the softball fields just behind Powell High School. You can see right here, you're talking about just a foot deep, but closer to Beaver Creek, that's like 5 feet deep. You can tell because of the fence line where all that water is. And when you guys look over here, you can see some of this plywood the coaches put up here trying to protect the fencing here because this is not cheap stuff. Last time they tried to fix it, cost them about $20,000. Now you're looking at possibly doing this again. Yeah, of course, a frustrating thing for them. The coach also from Powell, he says, yeah, this has happened before, but he said it didn't happen quite as bad and not nearly as often. Here's what he had to say.
You know, I graduated here in 1988 also, so I've been in the community most of my life. This used to be a once every 10, 15 year occurrence, and I don't ever remember it being to this extent.
Yeah, now they have official practice starting on Monday, so just days away now. Now they got to deal with this. Not sure exactly what they're going to do yet, the coach says, but of course they will be monitoring, meeting with the folks this weekend to figure out what to do next right now. A little bit of good news, you won't be able to see it, but the tarp on the other side, coach said last year that went up into the trees, got all ripped up, torn apart. This year it stayed on the field there, so hopefully saving a little bit of money, but $20,000 not cheap for these high school teams, Ted and Amanda. An unfortunate and a frustrating thing for them to see once again.
Yeah, definitely got to be frustrating, that's for sure. Robert, thanks. Well, this is how things looked at Carter Middle School this morning. Knox County schools forced to suddenly call off class today, giving some parents really less than a half-hour notice to come pick up their kids.
I'm self-employed, so I am having to put jobs on hold to be here.
I'm here to pick up my grandson because they don't know when to call schools off. They should have looked outside and seen how all the damage is done instead of endangering all these kids' life.
A lot of teachers, a lot of parents upset. There was flooding last night and still 2 more inches of rain falling in the forecast overnight. Knox County schools still didn't cancel class despite the forecasted flooding until kids were already in school.
And especially after this video appears to show a school bus stuck in floodwater outside Farragut Intermediate School. The assistant superintendent tells our Kyle Granger that they cannot predict the weather.
Knox County Schools Assistant Superintendent John Ryswick stands by the district's decision to have school on Thursday. He says conditions began to deteriorate rapidly while kids were on the way.
We're going at that point, no reason not to, and then getting students safe and secure at school. During that time, we saw water rise. We saw, roads that were clear all of a sudden not be as passable as they were.
He says the issues were rising water at some campuses and on roads that were becoming impassable.
That our biggest issues for that were, as conditions continued to deteriorate, we had some issues coming up about some of our campuses, not many, but some of our campuses were having access issues.
Ryswick says the district sent out teams to check the roads, and even with the forecast, they felt comfortable sending the kids to school.
The data we had at that point was a decision that to continue to have school. We do again understand that this short turnaround is inconvenience for parents who work and those sorts of things, and that's why our staff's willing to be at the school until all the students are home.
In Knoxville, Kyle Granger, WVLT News.
Other schools around East Tennessee will be closed tomorrow as well. We've got a full list in the WVLT News app.
This in downtown Sevierville at Eastgate Road, New Salem Baptist Church, surrounded by floodwater. Streams and rivers in that area still swelling and still overflowing.
Now, Justin McDuffie joins us live from Sevier County. Justin, they've got a lot of problems on their hands. You've seen water in homes, more than 100 roads closed, even a flooded RV park.
Yeah, Amanda, it's been a very extensive damage here in Sevier County. Right now, I'm on Eastgate Road, as Ted just mentioned a couple of minutes ago. This area hit pretty hard thanks to Middle Creek behind us here. You can see the water several feet deep behind us, even coming up to the bottom of that road closed sign here. So lots of water still on the roadways. Good thing to point out here is that the water is receding in Sevier County. We were at that RV park a little bit earlier this evening. The water had gone down several feet from where the leftover debris was from where the water went down, so it had gone down several feet. We've also seen where it went out of the water had risen into some homes and come out of others. Other drivers still driving through these closed roads, so that's a good thing not to be doing, as these road barricades are still up throughout Sevier County and throughout East Tennessee. Don't drive around them. Those things can be very dangerous. Live in Sevier County, Justin McDuffie, WVLT News. Amanda?
All right, Justin reporting for us tonight. Justin, thanks. Authorities say do not do this. This is video from the Food City in Halls. Rescue crews say you should never play in flood water because of sewage, bacteria, chemicals, a bunch of other stuff. You just don't know whether it's in the water.
You know, every time we get heavy rain, it seems West Knoxville floods, at least the last couple of years. What's the county doing to fix the area of Bluegrass Lake? That's North Shore Drive, not far from where Ebenezer joins it. County commissioner says they've used robots to discover that it is slow to drain because there's such a slight grade in the drain. They're working to increase that and add a second pipe. Maybe that'll help as well. To look at Harlan County, the floodgates closed there. Harlan County Courthouse open as a shelter. People all over East Tennessee struggling.
And that's not the only shelter that's opening up tonight. In Blount County, Heritage High School operating as a shelter as well.
In Sevier County, Pigeon Forge Community Center and Gatlinburg Community Center, both letting people stay there tonight. We have all the details if you need a place to stay on the WVLT News app.
And just to add a bow to all of this, on top of all the flooding concerns, we're talking about a transition over to some light snow for the higher elevations. We'll show you who has the best chance at picking up some accumulated snow up next. Bringing you up to date to the rainfall we picked up last night. Average is about a little over 5 inches to date. 10 2/3 inches of rainfall, putting us nearly 5.5 inches ahead of the pace. And again, numerous areas picking up widespread 3 to 4 inch rainfall totals. Some isolated 5 mixed in there as well over the last 24 hours. And again, a lot of that rainfall heading right towards many of our creeks, rivers, and streams. So each one of these green boxes from Southwest Virginia, Southeast Kentucky, up into Claiborne County, also into Cocke, Sevier, and also in Morgan counties. All of those are flood warnings for each of those creeks and rivers, and those will remain high here for the rest of this evening, and all of that still has to funnel its way through eventually down into the Tennessee River. So right now, a lot of the shower activity has wound down for now. There are some light sprinkles in and around Knoxville, Maryville, all the way down through Madisonville. But a lot of the moisture is going to start coming back in slowly later on this evening through the overnight and eventually transitioning over to a little bit of light snowfall. A winter weather advisory in place for the higher elevations of the Smokies and also Fentress, Cumberland County along the plateau and all of our southeastern Kentucky counties. All the way until Friday afternoon. We could pick up a quick 2 inches up into the plateau, also 2 to 4 inches possible for the higher elevations of the Smokies. So here's Futurecast by 10 o'clock. You can see a few more scattered showers, light showers working their way through. And then around midnight, we start seeing enough cold air that this begins to transition over to either a light mix or some light snowfall for the folks around Crossville, Jamestown, Oneida, and the Wartburg area. Still some light rain here across the lower elevations of the valley. But then we start to see this spreading into parts of southeastern Kentucky, Campbell, Claiborne counties, maybe northern Union County, seeing a little bit of light snowfall there. Even the higher elevations of the Smokies beginning to see the transition there too. By the time we're heading out the door tomorrow morning for any of the school systems that are still heading to school coming up on Friday morning, we may see a snowflake or two mixed in amongst the lower elevations. But most of this will be confined to the areas outlining the valley. Again, out the door in the morning, some light snow showers, temperatures a little bit colder, down around the mid-30s, and we'll continue to keep these light snow showers around for plateau, southeast Kentucky, into the Smokies, all the way through the afternoon, with temperatures staying pretty chilly down into the upper 30s. So all told, Friday and Saturday, looking like this. Anywhere from a ½ inch to an inch possible up along the plateau. Some pockets of locally heavier amounts possible over into Middle Tennessee, maybe as far east as Jamestown and up into Lee County, Virginia, and outside of Harlan County, Kentucky. Valley not expecting too much, especially with all the rainfall that's all over the ground right now. But some of the higher elevations of the Smokies, a quick 2 to 3 plus inches of snowfall. And then we're talking about more rain coming in. More chances first thing on Monday. Looks like we get another scattered chance for the valley and the foothills for Tuesday. A bit of a break on Wednesday, and then more rain coming in here heading into next Thursday. So obviously all eyes turning towards more rainfall for next week. But in the short term, rain turning to snow tonight, sticking around off and on through Saturday with highs in the upper 30s to low 40s. Sunday, nice temperatures into the 50s. Then off and on rain chances for much of next week with highs in the 50s and 60s. We'll be back. Well, while most of the rainfall has tapered off for now, we're going to see more showers moving in overnight, transitioning to some light snow first off in the plateau after midnight. Smokies later on in the morning. We could see a few flurries or light snowflakes here in the valley first thing out the door in the morning, but don't expect much to stick out there. We're going to see off and on chances all the way through your Saturday as well.
All right, look at that. Animals' homes getting too close to the roads. When it rains like this, we got flooding all over East Tennessee.